Hello, my friends. This is the third Portuguese Brazilian TV show in a row, and to complete my, um, exploration of Portuguese TV shows, we need something really interesting and different from what we've seen before. So this is like that type of TV show, and oxygen masks will not drop down automatically is recent TV show from Brazil, which is still airing on HBO. So let's take a look. And the main character, Nanda, works as flight attendant, and basically he with his friend Leah, they work on Fly Brazil airline. So in 80s, they basically have like the most probably comfortable work as flight attendants. They do not really experience, problems with money probably, but their turbulent lives, their free-spirited personalities lead them to a lot of dangerous situations and, of course, diseases. And this TV show explores the theme of AIDS, HIV disease. If you know, like in 80s, there wasn't, and still there is no cure for AIDS, but there is like modern treatment. But in 80s there wasn't like available specifically in Brazil proper treatment for AIDS. And basically Nando and his friend Leah, as I said, they both work on Fly Brazil airline, and Nanda actually closeted gay, and his basically turbulent life is influencing the, his choices and his careless activities. So basically, he is involved with a football player, and Cairão is that football popular player who basically the best striker of championship at that period, and like basically his friendship with Cairão is not direct threat and not a cause for that HIV disease that he got after at some point in this TV show. Basically, Nando gets the disease, but not from Cairão. So basically, Kaio, So Kaio is a football player and the most popular like striker or something at that point. And together with Nando, they have like some type of secret relationship, and on public, basically Kaio appears as straight person, and he pretends like he dates or having some type of affair with Leah, who is a friend of Nando's. So they are like closeted lives, and all that happening behind the sheets is of course the cause of everything that happens to Nando later on. But Kaio wasn't that direct cause of Nando, getting the disease. So what happened to Nanda actually, and who basically made Nanda and his life destroyed. So we about to find out, because their first flight basically in this TV show and in episode 1, which is the only episode available currently, their first flight basically was to New York, and all the members of the crew, they seem pretty young and getting along. So at the same time, they have their secrets. Each of them has controversial personality, and while on the flights, they seem pretty, well put together persons. Outside of that work, they lead basically the most controversial lives, which is like contradict to basically their professional lives, But at the same time, Nanda is basically ignoring AIDS and seeing that everywhere, pamphlets, everything just tells that the danger of getting the disease is just so, important to understand and to prevent that from happening. And he's basically neglecting that threat and giving his lifestyle, giving his activities. He's basically should have taken that most seriously than anybody else in this TV show. But when he arrived in New York, basically first thing he did is just he basically took the invitation, he took the contact from another person, a stranger who works at that pharmacy, and he basically is a doctor, but who is also leading the most controversial lifestyle. And outside of his work as a doctor, he basically involved in activities with Nanda and other men, basically sexual activities and everything like that, just contradicts to what doctors are supposed to do. And basically the TV show itself just shows how people neglect something really dangerous and important, while they even the first people who supposed to basically take care of that, of the other people who can get the disease or something. So the doctor basically invited Nanda to his place, and Leah, Nanda's friend and flight attendant as well, she is as well has her secret lover and her affair with one of the pilots, basically, who is married, who has his wife and his kids. At the same time, she is getting another problem with that turbulent and unprotected lifestyle. So basically her activities leading to her getting pregnant, and knowing that supposed to happen. She's just taking pregnancy test secretly from her lover, and in episode 1 we never got to know if he is supposed to get to know what happened to her, but she is taking like the test secretly, so that means that she knows that his reaction is not supposed to be, adequate or even acceptable for her. But at the same time, it's not a disease. So her lifestyle is just the same as Nando's, but she is more aware and takes seriously when it comes to, disease and everything related to your health. And there is another person who is basically the embodiment in this TV show of the consequences of HIV, which is first stage of AIDS. So AIDS basically is the latest stage of HIV, and without treatment you easily getting that stage when it transfers into AIDS, transforms into the most dangerous stage. And she's currently in that stage basically of HIV, and she's about to lose her hair, everything, and of course her life. And Nando is basically, he is aware of her disease, and he's basically a friend of hers, and she's supposed to be like an indicator for Nando that he needs to just start getting it seriously, but he's still kind of neglecting it, and he is in New York getting in this, threesome with 2 married men. And basically this situation is directly leads him to getting that disease. If I understand correctly, this is what happened to Nando, and this is why he's currently diagnosed with that AIDS disease. And basically in US at that point the treatment for AIDS was already approved, it was available, but in Brazil it was prohibited, so people could only get it from the US. But to basically smuggle it into your country, you should resort to that illegally, just trafficking something illegally, which is smuggling, of course, is as well dangerous and putting your life at risk and your work in the first place, because he is a flight attendant. But at the same time, TV show shows how he's basically character developing and changing and coming to understanding that he needs finally to settle down. And he manages basically to this time to get away easily and without any consequences for him, but he's already understanding that something happening, and basically to get to know what really happened to him, he needs to take a blood test, which is for him seems to be unacceptable and stupid. This is actually like, the only way to find out. So after Leah and Nanda came back from New York, basically, first thing Nanda found out after the arrival was that he has some symptoms. He has some, suspicious, some kind of signs of HIV. But in his stage, it's already AIDS. It's the latest stage of HIV again. So to make it clear, when you not treating HIV for a long period, it transforms into AIDS. But in general, HIV is the disease when your immunity getting basically destroyed. So, and at the same time, the only way to find out is to take a blood test. So people trying to encourage Nanda to take that blood test. In this TV show, his friends, for example, Leah, she has her own problem and she is struggling with that pregnancy, to tell her secret lover that she has a baby right now. And basically her struggle is not clear if she's afraid of telling him or if she is afraid of keeping that baby. At the same time, the TV show just not telling the exact problem for her. It more seems like she's just afraid of losing her job in the first place, because as a flight attendant, she will lose basically like 70% or something of her salary if she gets, if she gets that pregnancy, if she is about to give birth to that baby. And she's trying to basically reach to the father of that baby, but he's basically like one of the most controversial characters in this TV show, because while he is a pilot and supposed to be like, taking care of his crew, basically the pilot is the main figure on airplane, but he is more about that manipulative type of character. So he's not about to give a hand to Leah with that baby, and I'm pretty sure that in future episodes he's about to basically tell her that she needs to basically get rid of that or something like this. So since it was only one episode, it's difficult to find out what he's about, what he's up to. And Nanda is now seeing that he has some kind of suspicious scar or something like mosquito bites, but he understands that that happened right after his flight to New York, and he remembers what he did in New York with those married men. And basically, TV show itself, delves into niche subject, which is AIDS in 80s in Brazil, and a lot of people probably never know about the existence of this TV show. They never basically, they never basically saw any trailer or something. So I'm gonna tell you that this TV show worth watching if you want to just watch something not so hyped, but something that is different from other Portuguese or any other TV show, because it has some style, it has different approach when it comes to the narrative, and the TV show basically inspired by like real life events, but at the same time it doesn't look too much of a documentary or something, because this type of TV shows about diseases and historical type of TV shows, they can easily turn into something like documentaries rather than TV show, in traditional sense. And after Nando basically found out that he got the disease, AIDS, he got on this flight, and as a flight attendant, he's supposed to take care of one of his business class passenger, which is another man diagnosed with AIDS, and in the most basically dangerous stage. As we see, he already severely damaged by that disease, and every member of the crew supposed to basically avoid any contact with that passenger, because it will lead to getting infected or something. So basically for him it's just so like personally, emotionally difficult situation to go through, and he's basically getting anxiety or even like heart attack or something. And on this flight he basically exposed to everyone that he has some problems with health, and it leads to basically him getting appointment and this doctor who is basically getting Nanda checked, she is not directly saying like telling him that he has HIV or AIDS already, the latest stage of disease, but she's trying to understand if he's willing to keep living normally, if he's not gonna to just freak out about his disease. So she's kind of keeping it as a secret, because as a young man he's not like taking everything adequately, but sometimes aggressively, and just defensive mechanism is just working, and Nanda basically is already out of work. So he is basically not fired, but he was reported to the chief or someone who basically in charge of that airline company. And he finally basically took that blood test after he got pressured by his friend Raul. After Raul basically lost his mother. So the woman who is called Panther, the Panther, is a woman who died to AIDS, and he was basically a son of that woman. And after that situation, he basically put pressure on Nanda enough for Nanda to go and just to take the test. And he told him that do that at least not for yourself, but do that at least for Panther, for his mother who died. So after that, basically he was already aware of that disease, and most probably he knew that he had already the disease. But it's just so difficult to accept it, that you have something like this. It's another thing just to think about, that you probably have something like this, but completely different is to accept it, is to just go and just treat it. So after that, he basically getting all the visions and probably dreams related to his disease, and he even sees that passenger from flight who was basically in the latest stage of AIDS, and now he's kind of paranoid about the disease, and the reaction is probably just common for people his age, but at the same time his personality is just itself easily, his personality can easily get hurt by anyone. As we see in this TV show, he's vulnerable, and his character basically kind of putting that mask when he is on flights, when he is flight attendant. He's trying to basically keep his kindness and be just normal, but at the same time, all that mask he's putting while he's working is just leading to his burnouts and to his anxiety. So next episodes probably will explore more of Nanda and Leah, his friend, smuggling all the treatment from the US, since in Brazil at that point there wasn't any treatment for AIDS. They will lead to them smuggle everything into Brazil. And I guess all the TV show is gonna be focused on smuggling that medicine and getting into more trouble once they get caught with smuggling or something. And probably a lot of drama is about to happen. So that was my take on TV show. Oxygen masks will not drop down automatically, but in reality this saying is oxygen masks will drop automatically when altitude exceeds 1400 feet and the cabin of airplane at specific altitude. Oxygen masks triggered by that altitude. And the saying basically reversed to express the basically situation when main character has no actual like safe future, when when he is sure that the treatment will just drop on him, and when he get the treatment, when he can use the treatment, basically this is the saying when we can just draw parallels between oxygen masks and his treatment from the disease. So nothing will drop on you automatically. So he will need to go and get it from another country. He will need to go and he will have to go and smuggle it into Brazil, because nothing will come to you naturally. I guess this is like the parallel you can draw when it comes to saying oxygen masks will not drop down automatically. We can basically refer it to his medicine, which is not available for Nando and which will never drop on him automatically. So this is why even the title itself kind of confusing, but when you start watching this TV show, you understand that the concept basically interesting, especially when you just try to watch multiple Brazilian, Portuguese TV shows, and you see the difference immediately. You just noticing the difference in approach and the narrative, because most of the TV shows, Brazilian TV shows, they basically oversaturated with like modern type of narratives, which is just overused everywhere. And they are trying to kind of, in this TV show, they are trying to stand out as, something. And specifically in the 80s, the vibe of that period prevalent in this TV show. Everything when it comes to the US or Brazil, everything just perfectly, everything just perfectly matches the vibe of the TV show. And the darkness of the disease and the moments of realization for main character that he has that disease, they also perfectly staged. And the main setting of this TV show is not even airplane. It's more like the main stage is basically the club when the main character Nanda goes, where he goes after every flight to Brazil or something. So the club basically is where he used to spend time and get rest from work. So this is probably the main stage. And airplanes, flights in this TV show, they are mostly like where the main character faces all the reality, because at those flights basically happening the most like dangerous situations, when he basically getting his anxiety and getting basically close to people who can hurt him easily or who have the similar disease, So on those flights, basically, we see the moments of realization for main character. And the other stage is his home, Brazil, when he sees basically his relatives, and the only place when he can be alone, basically. But even then he sees basically those passengers for flights, for that airplane, basically even his privacy now is not completely a privacy. It's more like, he's just paranoid. And he still has his friend, basically, who is the only person who can take care of him unconditionally, whether he has the disease or not, since they are only friends and nothing more. He can just express himself to Leah. And sometimes it's even more easily to have someone like a friend when you have something like this, when you have difficult period in your life, your friends can be at least one person is enough to get through that situation. So I guess that Leah will play the vital role, the most important role in his life and in this TV show and in the final of this TV show, because now he's pregnant and she has her basically secret, but she already knew that Nanda basically has AIDS, and she basically found out that without even asking him. And the only available medicine called AZT is the thing they are going to smuggle into Brazil in future episodes. And together with Leah, they agreed to smuggle everything needed to treat that disease. And Leah is about to basically collaborate with Nando, and she is about to put her career at risk for him in terms of, transporting that treatment for Nando and smuggle it into Brazil. So this is everything about episode 1, and I see you next time with probably more of this TV show. Oxygen masks will not drop down automatically or something else, but we will find out. Thank you, see you next time, goodbye.